This is Shanna Smith, and today I wanted to talk with you about one of the challenges that are facing our students today. In this version of the Game of Life, it's the 2022 version, where we're talking about the challenges that our students face regarding cyberbullying in today's world. There's just quite a bit going on for them, and we really have to stay up to date on trends and concerns. So what I did for them is I went through this presentation and talked with them about the definition of cyberbullying to make sure that they're aware of that and focus really on the repeated part of that and the using of technology, and then the harassing and humiliation and things like that. I also really focused on the fact that bullying of any kind is really used just to gain power over another person. But with the online component, they're adding that social status piece to that. One thing I get asked, and you probably do too, is does this count as cyberbullying? If they're asking that, it's either possibly happening to them or they're considering doing something and their conscience is kind of kicking in there. So these are some components that I went over with them. Is it online? Is it a rumor? Is it a mean comment? Is it humiliating? Was it intended to hurt someone? It's good to have those discussions with them. And then basically if they're asking, I told them usually it's yes. So just for you to be aware of. And then where it's happening, this was a good one for me to check. I thought the main one would be Snapchat. I was incorrect. Instagram is the most common place for cyberbullying to take place, followed closely by Facebook and Snapchat. So those are some things just to be mindful of. I know that they probably don't have access to the majority of those in your classroom, but also monitor emails, or sometimes they'll chat on documents for your class. They'll go in and make comments back and forth. So if you think something like that's happening and it's upsetting, you can have them share the document with you. You could have them share it with me or an administrator. We're happy to take a look at that. And just continually monitoring when they're supposed to be on their computer on a certain site to make sure that they're doing that, which I know is like another full-time job for you guys. But just another thought to keep in mind. And then we progress and we talk about what is the real impact and who does this impact? Well, it impacts everybody is what I talked with them about. There was some statistics that said 30 to 50%. Then there was another statistic that said 70%. So there's kind of varying information out there, but the bottom line is it's a lot. I think we need to really think about the things that our kids are accessing, not necessarily in your classroom, but even outside of here. They have resources. When we used to go home, there wasn't anything. You were kind of done with the day. Nobody could reach you. But now 93% of kids have computers at home, and we send them home with Chromebooks. Then some have phones and some have other, iPads and such. So people constantly have instant access to the internet. So when they're frustrated, they don't have time to work through that. They're working through that through their fingertips, and they're causing a lot of distress for other people. Principals are reporting an increase in the frequency of cyberbullying incidents as well. I know you guys know these effects from cyberbullying, or bullying in general. There's just a lot that goes on that way. And so I think that we need to be mindful and remind ourselves that if we see a change in behavior, depression, anxiety, if they start missing your class a lot, or maybe they're only missing class on Monday, Wednesdays, maybe they're only missing your class, then maybe there's a situation going on with a peer that we need to look into. When grades start to suffer, is another thing that we could look at. Sometimes that can impact them physically and they can feel unwell. Sometimes they'll kind of turn the opposite and become one of those bullies that are picking on other people. They're seeking out that power that they feel has been taken from them. Self-harm and suicide. I know this is a scary one to deal with because we want them to be okay. But the bottom line is if you see significant changes in their behavior, go ahead and reach out to me or one of the administrators and one of the administrators. That would be great. And then if you hear them saying anything about harming themselves or ending their life, please come and get me immediately. I will visit with the kiddo and help them come up with a plan and some resources to make sure that they're safe. I don't want you to feel like you have to be the only person. Sometimes they're going to feel most comfortable with you because they know you better. And I think that's great that they talk with you. And then if it needs to be and they don't want to talk with someone else, I can give you some guidance on how best you can help them, and we can come up with a plan. So I don't want you to feel like you have to handle that on your own. But if you overhear a student talking about, oh, they heard another student say this, go ahead and get that information to me quickly so that we can get on that and try to get some resources in place to help those kiddos. So I know you guys already do a lot for them, and you know most of these things, but just to review, to make sure we're all on the same page. Cyberbullying, what I learned was it looks different for boys and girls, that girls are more calling names. They're labeling each other with mean things, or judging them based on what they've done or haven't done, or how they look. And boys are mainly, they call each other gay. Well, that's gay. Oh, you're gay, that kind of thing. And it's really demeaning. And I really think that if we hear that in the hallways, if you could help step in and say, hey, that's not all right. And then hopefully we can kind of change that culture so people know that that's not okay. Laws and consequences. This one's been a little shaky for us as educators. Some people will argue that some acts of cyberbullying are freedom of speech. They have the right to say what they want, and to some extent they do. But there has been some changes recently, and then we've got 49 states so far that have prevention laws for bullying in place already. So that's great. And then some states have went further into the criminal justice system with that. Others are operating under laws that were already in place. So like stalking and assault, they're putting bullying and cyberbullying under that so that they can still proceed with criminal actions when necessary. Of course, the hope is that we don't get to that point because we'd like to be able to step in and help them make better choices before then. But there has to be consequences. People are losing their lives over this. Kids are losing their lives. One of the articles I read said they were 2 times more likely to commit suicide now as a result of cyberbullying. And that is just very, very scary. So we need to step in when we can. And now there's some laws backing that up for us. Even if the bullying doesn't happen at school, there are some situations where we would be able to still address it within the school setting. I talked with the kids about having a conscience as one of the consequences. So if you do something you're not proud of, you're going to have to live with that. And so I ran them through these different questions to help them make that decision in those situations. School consequences, like I said, they've changed some things recently, and even if it occurs outside of the school building, if it disrupts the learning environment, if it interferes with school discipline or the education process, if it happens on any school-used technology, or if it threatens or infringes upon a student or their civil rights, then the school can step in with some discipline. These were some outlined options as far as discipline or consequences. So parent contact, maybe a behavior education training, graduated consequences, so that, if something happens once, this happens, but if it happens multiple times, then there's a more intense consequence. And then suspension and expulsion in worst case scenarios, because we'd rather not happen. We'd rather them be in the building with us, but we do have to maintain the safety of the other students as well. So those are some things to think about. Policy considerations. They had some really good information. One of the things they said is make sure you have a really specific harassment, intimidation, and bullying policy. Then specific guidelines for reporting and investigating. And then, like I just outlined, those consequences. And then they also want you to put in the policy that if it happens off grounds, then we can still address it if it falls in this scenario. And then some preventative cyberbullying education. I thought those were some great things for consideration when we're working on our discipline policies within the school. What you can do, you guys are doing it. You're in the classrooms, you're paying attention to what's being said around you, and you're stepping in when you need to. So this is what I visited with students about, is them stepping in, either to let an adult know or to say something themselves. I did also give them these 10 tips. Report it to your school, collect evidence, report to the site or app or game, talk to trusted adults, be caring, work together. You guys know these things. Tell them to stop, don't encourage it, stay safe, and don't give up. But what I would say for us as educators is we need to step in. If at any point a person is being rude, disrespectful, unkind, we need to step in and put a stop to that. If it's something that is more than just you saying stop that one time and it keeps going, then I make a report to the office, or if you want me to come and visit with the kiddo, I'd be happy to do that as well. And then follow up and see how the other person is doing, if they were hurt in any way by the words or actions, and be vigilant. We just have to kind of stay on our toes. I know we're all kind of overwhelmed right now, but I think that if we work together and talk and communicate between all of us in the building, we'll be able to step in and hopefully prevent anything from happening. I did also include for them a local help crisis line. This is on my, just so you know, it is on my webpage for the students to get at any point, but I just put it in this presentation as well, so they saw where it was and know that they have access to that. Okay, here are my references. Thank you very much for your time and for all the stuff you already do in our building. I know it's a full-time and a half job, but the students are lucky to have you. And if there's something that I can do to help you when we're addressing some of these cyberbullying challenges or anything else, please just reach out and let me know. I would be happy to visit with you. Thank you.